Alright, we've got quite a bit done here now. Got a lot of the wiring tidied up. Still have to wire up the console. However, I've got the some of the hold downs underneath. Let me see if I can brighten this up. So as you can see, I've got the hold downs for the battery and the gas tank, fuel tank installed, letting those set up before I strap those items down. And I've also got the stern light brackets mounted, so that tucks away nicely underneath that this bench seat here in the back. And so what I'm going to be working on next is getting the registration numbers and stickers on the outside of the hull now, because Saturday is our drop dead date. We will be testing this out in one of the nearby lakes, probably Lake Hartwell, so that's what I'm going to do next. So we want to make sure we get a nice straight line, so it's always nice using this blue painter's tape. And I'm using 3-inch numbers, so just kind of eyeing this for straight. Well, as you can see, I am knee deep in wiring right now. So I'm working right now on the little wire that comes from the fish finder, splicing in some lines so that I'll be able to hook into the switch panel and into the negative bus bar. So getting these connections made here now, and I'm about ready to crimp on a connector here. And we're using loop connectors, we're not using hooks. In a marine application, you always want to use the loop circle. And I love, as I mentioned before, I love these crimpers. It does such a better job of squeezing and not destroying the jacket. You get a nice good tight fit there. And then because these are not heat shrink, I'm going to go ahead and I will apply my liquid electrical tape to everything. That is not a heat shrink connector, so that will be one of the next things that I do. Now, in order to go from a very fine wire from the fish finder power to something bigger that's going to tie into our switches and in our bus bar, I stripped extra insulation jacket off of that fine wire so that I can double it over and put it into this butt connector. And again, because I'm using this type of a crimper, it does a great job of getting a nice grab even onto fine wire. And I'll just put a couple squeezes on that. Give it a bit of a tug test, and that is nice. A nice solid electrical connection. So I've got these to be able to set in here. I've got my switch wired up, got my kill switch wired up, just about ready to bring these up. I'm probably going to loosen up the switch panel here because I've got to be able to get to some screw connectors in here, kind of pull that out and do that from the top side. So for all of these things, like the bills, the navigation lights, all of those kind of things, we're going to get those hooked in here real soon. So again, I'm in a bit of in the weeds here right now, but it's just kind of things spread out all over the place. Got tools and connectors and all sorts of stuff everywhere, but that's all part of it. So you just got to get into it and tackle it. This is kind of a bit of a tight space. Fortunately, I was able to get my bench seat up out of my way here. Otherwise, it would be next to impossible to get in here. So that's where I'm at right now. We'll show you a little bit more when I get this apart and start making connections to the switch panel. So I've got all these wired and ready to terminate. I've got to get a couple spade connectors though for the ends of the ones that go into the switch. As you can see, on the switch panel here, they require spade connectors down in there in between. Now the hot and the black from the battery. The hot from the ignition switch will go on the plus side, and then I'll do a lead from the minus side here, the negative side, that'll go to the negative bus block that we have up there underneath the console. So now it's time to make some connections here. As you can see, as I mentioned before, here's where the hot wire is going to come in from the ignition. So when the ignition switch is in the on position, it will send power to energize this switchboard. And then we're going to do a negative lead from here to our negative bus bar. So we're going to start by hooking up some power. I don't have my battery connected yet, so no fear of getting electrocuted here. So I'm going to go ahead and get our hot wire going and connected. These are really simple switches. Again, I got spade connectors on everything to connect those other three switches. The bottom switch powers or energizes the two 12-volt outlets for charging up your mobile devices. And then the top three will be nav lights, instrumentation, and bilge. Now for this side, I've got a piece that I made up that will go from here to the negative bus bar. It's on a white wire. I would have preferred to have this black, but I didn't have any extra black wire with me, so we'll go with white. Alright, now we can plug in our other pieces, and I've marked my wire so I know this is the bilge. I'm going to put that on the lower. Switch. This is my navigation, or sorry, my instruments. And last one. Oh, and I've got the wrong connector there. My bad. Got to redo that one. I had the male side instead of the female side there, so let me I'll get that tidied up. Get that cut off. Twist the cable a little bit. Get this seated in there. And I'm using the blue size crimper. Give it a good tug test. Hear that a lot, tug test. You'll see that in anybody who's doing some videos on wiring will talk about the tug test. You don't want those things letting go. You want them to be as foolproof as possible, especially when you're out on the water. Alright, get a little liquid why is that so hard to say? Liquid electrical tape. Anyway, get that done. Get it to fill in that void a good bit. And that's a nice watertight seal when you do that. Alright, and that is our nav lights. I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. Alright, so in here's where we're making our connections to the negative bus bar, and as you can see I've got those connected. Now I've just got a little bit more work to tidy up some of these wires, wrap them up a little bit out of the way to give us as much storage as we can inside this area underneath the steering wheel. And again, this will have a little sealed cover on top of it, just keep any extra moisture out of there. So that's that. Got most everything inside this cable wrap now, and the last thing I'm going to do under here is just to put another cable tie tie it off to the metal bracket here just to help support this, so if somebody actually yanks on this, it doesn't pull everything out of our switchboard. And now here comes one of the moments we've all been waiting for. Stickers. Yeah, I've been waiting months to be able to do this, so don't make fun of me. Alright, so again, our top one is going to be navigation lights. So let's take a look here. You got running, there we go, nav lights. We're going to use that one on the top. Middle one, got to remember this, runs our instruments. So let's see here, instruments, there we go. We're going to use that one there. And then we have got bilge pump. That's going on the third one. And then of course the fourth one is, we'll call that accessories. Or actually no, sorry, the 12 volt DC outlets. Alright, so let's see if I can do this. I've wiped down and cleaned those little squares there. So let's peel off navigation light. So it's a plastic cover with a good adhesive tape on the back. And our fourth one, the DC outlets. Alright, let's hook up the battery and let's try these guys out. Okay, so we're going to try out some switches here. Here are the nav light. Alright, let's try the instruments. I'm going to turn that on. I like how they have little lights on there too that come on. And I'm going to power on our fish finder. Aha! We have life. Good. Now we'll turn that off. And let's try the bilge. Alright, so it looks like we're in good shape to get out on the water tomorrow, and we will show you how this thing performs and all the systems, and we'll see you in just a little bit out on the lake.